On a cold evening in Long Island, a black woman walks out of a restaurant, ready to head home after a bad day, but her plans are ruined when she hears quiet sobs coming from an empty street where a lost little girl in a dress, shivering and alone, is curled up on the sidewalk. She knows she can't just walk away. What she doesn't realize is that this choice will lead to the biggest opportunity of all she has had. Turns out this daughter's father was on a date with her a few moments ago, and he's gonna reward her with millions of dollars. The wind clawed at her coat like it had something to prove. Mia Thompson pulled the collar tighter around her neck, heels clicking over damp concrete as she moved down the near-empty street in Long Island. The night was cold, sharp, and quiet, except for the fading sound of laughter from the restaurant behind her and the occasional gust of wind that whistled like a warning. Her date had been a disaster. Another smug man with a fancy smile and empty conversation. He talked more about his Tesla than anything she'd asked, then vanished after dessert, leaving her with the check and a sinking feeling of déjà vu. She was tired. Bone-deep tired. She just wanted to get home, take off these damn shoes, and erase the whole evening with a glass of wine and bad TV. But then. A sound. Soft. Fragile. Almost too quiet to be real. She stopped. There it was again. A small, muffled sob, like something trying not to be heard. Mia turned her head slowly. On the other side of the street, huddled against a lamppost, was a little girl. She couldn't have been older than 6. Her knees were tucked to her chest, her arms wrapped tightly around them. She wore a sleeveless white dress, clearly expensive, and glittering shoes, completely wrong for a night like this. Her bare shoulders shook. Mia's stomach dropped. She looked around, expecting, hoping, to see a frantic parent, a babysitter, anyone. But the street was empty. She stepped off the curb, slowly approaching. "Hey, are you okay?" Mia asked, keeping her voice low, calm. The girl looked up. Big blue eyes, rimmed with tears. Her cheeks were flushed from crying and cold. Her voice came out as barely a whisper. "I don't know where my daddy went." That's when Mia felt it, deep in her chest. A flicker of something primal. Protective. Dangerous. She glanced back at the restaurant she'd left, then down at the child again. "Walk away," said the part of her that knew better. This could be trouble. Big trouble. But the little girl didn't look like trouble. She looked lost. Frozen. Alone. And even though Mia didn't know it yet, this single decision, this one moment of not walking away, was about to change her life forever. Mia crouched down so she was eye level with the girl, careful to keep her movements slow. The air between them felt like glass, one wrong move, and the whole night might shatter. "What's your name, sweetheart?" The girl wiped her nose with the back of her hand. "Lily," she sniffled. "My daddy said he was coming right back. But, he didn't." Mia blinked. "How long ago?" "I don't know." Lily's voice broke. It got dark. Mia's throat tightened. It was already dark when she left the restaurant, and that was nearly 2 hours ago. She glanced around again, still no sign of anyone. No car with hazard lights. No one calling a name. No parent running frantically down the sidewalk. "Okay," Mia said softly, shifting out of her heels and kneeling on the wet ground beside her. "Let's warm you up first." She pulled off her coat and wrapped it around Lily's small frame, then took out her phone. Calling 911 was the right thing. The logical thing. But even as she dialed, something inside her twisted. This could go wrong in so many ways. A black woman with an unattended white child. Late at night. In a quiet neighborhood. She'd read headlines like that before. They didn't end well. Still, she hit call. 911, what's your emergency?" Mia took a breath. "I found a lost child. A little girl. She's alone and freezing." They asked her questions, rapid fire, impersonal. Location. Age estimate. Description. Relationship. "I'm not related," she said. "I just found her." Another pause. We're dispatching a unit. Please remain at the scene. Mia hung up. Lily was shivering hard now, despite the coat. I want to go home, she said quietly. I know, baby. We're gonna get you safe, okay? Then Mia did something impulsive. She scooped Lily up and carried her to her car parked around the corner. Just for warmth, she told herself. Just until the cops arrived. She turned on the heat, wrapped Lily in a blanket she kept in the back seat, and held her close. But the whole time, her heart was pounding. Because this was the kind of decision that could flip a story on its head. And as flashing red and blue lights finally turned the corner, Mia knew. There was no undoing this. The squad car pulled up with a soft crunch of tires against the curb. Mia stayed still, arms around Lily, as the two officers stepped out. One was tall and white, with a square jaw and stiff posture. The other was younger, Latino, more relaxed, but both had the same cautious look in their eyes. Mia rolled down her window slowly. Are you the one who called about the girl? The taller officer asked, shining his flashlight directly into Mia's face. Yes, she said evenly. She was alone. I stayed with her until you got here. She was freezing. Step out of the vehicle, ma'am. Mia's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Why? Just step out, please. She glanced down at Lily, who clung tighter to her, suddenly frightened again. I'm not leaving her alone. The younger cop stepped forward. We just need to ask you a few questions, ma'am. Standard procedure. Mia opened the door and stepped out slowly. Her heart was hammering, not from guilt, but from the knowledge that none of this looked right. A little girl in her back seat. No witnesses. No camera footage to back up her story. Just her word. The flashlight followed her every move. How do you know the child? The tall officer asked. I don't. I found her sitting alone on the sidewalk 2 blocks down. She said her father never came back. I called it in right away. I was just trying to keep her warm. And you brought her into your car. She was shaking, Mia said, unable to keep the frustration out of her voice. She was crying. What would you have done? Left her on the concrete? The officers exchanged a look. Then, behind them, a car screeched to a halt across the street. A sleek black BMW. The door flew open, and a man sprinted toward them. Lily, he called. The girl's head shot up. Daddy. She threw off the blanket and rushed out of the car, crashing into the man's arms. He scooped her up, holding her tightly, his face buried in her hair. Mia exhaled for the first time in what felt like an hour. The man looked up, eyes locking with hers. And her heart skipped. It was him. The date. The man from the restaurant. Except now, he didn't look like some slick tech bro trying to impress her over tiramisu. Now, he looked like a father. A terrified one. And then he said something that made the world tilt. Mia. Mia froze. Her name, spoken in that stunned, almost reverent tone, hung in the air like a question neither of them was ready to answer. You two know each other? The younger cop asked, eyebrows raised. The man, Lily's father, nodded, still holding his daughter. We were on a date. Tonight. I didn't even know she was gone. I thought she was with her nanny. His voice cracked, and for a moment, he looked like he might fall apart. Mia's brain couldn't keep up. She stared at him, Richard, he'd called himself Tom during dinner, and now here he was in designer everything, holding a designer child, stepping out of a luxury car with police presence surrounding them. What the hell is going on? She asked. He looked at her, guilt in his eyes. I know this looks bad, but I swear, I left her with the nanny at the restaurant valet. We had a system. I go inside first, she follows. But something must have happened. She must have wandered off. Your kid wanders off in freezing weather, Mia said sharply, and you don't realize for how long. I didn't know. I thought she was asleep in the car. I didn't, he cut off, pulling Lily tighter as if that could erase everything that just happened. The older officer stepped forward. Sir, we're going to need a full statement. Identification. And someone needs to verify custody of the child. I'll cooperate, Richard said quickly. Anything. But this woman, he looked at Mia again, softer now, she saved my daughter's life. There was a long pause. The flashlight lowered. The tension, still thick, began to slowly uncoil. The younger cop nodded toward Mia. You're free to go, ma'am. We appreciate your help. But Richard spoke up. Wait. Mia was already turning back toward her car, her adrenaline fading fast into exhaustion. Please, he said. Can we talk? She hesitated. Looked over her shoulder. About what? How you ghosted our date and left your kid on the street. He winced. You have every right to be angry. But I didn't ghost you, I was called outside. There was some business emergency. I thought I'd come right back. But then Lily was missing. Everything after that was a blur. Mia studied him. This version of him was different, less polished, more human. And very clearly shaken. I want to make this right, he said. She crossed her arms. How? With another fancy dinner and a lie about your name? He swallowed. Not with dinner. With something bigger. But not here. Please, give me a chance to explain. Tomorrow. Lunch. Anywhere you want. Mia was silent. Then, slowly, she nodded once. 1 hour. No games. I'll send a car. She gave him a look. He smiled faintly. Okay. No car. Just me. Honest. As she got into her car and drove off, one thought echoed in her mind. What the hell did I just get pulled into? The next day, Mia showed up early. She picked a cafe in Midtown, public, casual, and no chance of another disappearing act. She chose a corner seat facing the door, arms crossed, coffee untouched. He walked in exactly on time. No suit today, just jeans, a gray cashmere sweater, and the kind of confidence that money wraps around you like armor. Mia, he said, sliding into the seat across from her, thank you for coming. She raised an eyebrow. Let's skip the charm and go straight to what the hell is going on. He exhaled. Fair. Then, without pretense, he began. My name is Richard Carlyle. I run a private equity firm. We buy struggling companies, rebuild them, and resell. You probably saw one of my restaurants last night without knowing it, it's one of ours. Mia blinked. So the tech bro act was, what? A hobby? A test, he admitted. A bad one, in hindsight. I've been burned a few times by women who knew exactly who I was and saw dollar signs. I wanted to meet someone real. And you were, you. She narrowed her eyes. So you lied. Yes, he said, no flinching. And you still stayed. Even after the date crashed and burned, even when you found my daughter alone on the street. You could have walked away. I almost did, she said softly. But I couldn't. And that, he said, leaning in, told me more about you than anything I've ever learned over wine and apps. Mia looked away, unsure how to respond. Then he dropped the real bomb. I want to invest in you, Mia. She turned back slowly. Excuse me. You said something on our date, before I messed it all up. You talked about your idea for a community-based wellness center for women. Mental health, career coaching, childcare support. It stuck with me. And after last night, I realized, you're not just a good person. You're a visionary. And you need a chance. Her heart skipped. Are you offering me a job? I'm offering you a partnership. The room suddenly felt too quiet. I want to fund your idea. Fully. No strings. You run it, You build it, you decide what it becomes. I'll give you the resources, the team, the space. Whatever you need. Consider it, my thank you. For Lily. For being the person I didn't expect, but can't stop thinking about. Mia stared at him, heart racing. This wasn't a date. This wasn't guilt. This was something else entirely. And she had no idea if she was being rescued, or recruited into a world she wasn't ready for. Mia didn't answer right away. She sat still, fingers curled around her untouched coffee cup, as if the warmth might help her think straight. This wasn't just an opportunity, it was a shift in her reality. From drowning in bills and disappointment, to someone handing her a life raft built out of gold. And that made her uneasy. Why me? She asked finally. You barely know me. And let's be honest, our date lasted less time than your daughter was missing. Richard smiled faintly, but his eyes were serious. You're right. I don't know everything about you. But I know what I saw. He leaned forward. I saw a woman who doesn't flinch in crisis. Who puts herself at risk for a child she doesn't know. Who speaks her mind. And who, let's be real, called me out on my BS without blinking. Mia snorted despite herself. Damn right. He grinned. Exactly. That's rare, Mia. And it's exactly the kind of person I'd want running something that matters. Her thoughts were a swirl of resistance and temptation. Okay, she said slowly, but what's the catch? Richard hesitated, just long enough to raise every alarm in her gut. There might be attention, he admitted. The media's nosy. Especially when my name's attached. If we go public with this, people will dig. Into me. Into you. They'll ask questions. About the night we met. About why a black woman found a lost white child and didn't call CPS first. I did call the police, she snapped. I know. Doesn't matter. You know how stories get spun. Her mouth tightened. So I become a headline. Maybe. But the kind that changes things. You'd be the face of something real. Something big. Mia stood. She couldn't sit anymore. Her thoughts were too loud. Her instincts screamed caution, but her ambition, the part of her that had been buried under rent notices and half-eaten dreams, was wide awake. You're asking me to walk into your world, she said. Richard looked up at her, steady. No. I'm offering to open the door. What you do once you're inside, that's up to you. She stared at him. And then said, quietly, I need time. Take it, he said. But Mia, the world doesn't change unless someone decides to stop surviving, and start building. Mia said yes. She said it 2 days later, in the same cafe where the offer was made, no hesitation this time, just a nod and a quiet, let's do it. And just like that, everything changed. The press caught on fast. Mysterious Good Samaritan saves billionaire's daughter. From waitress to CEO. Inside the life-changing night on Long Island. Is this a real Cinderella story, or a carefully crafted PR move? They dissected her life like vultures. Old blog posts resurfaced. Ex-boyfriends were contacted. Someone even tracked down her college roommate, who shared a story about how Mia once got into a fight with a professor over an unfair grade. That somehow became a headline. Mia sat on her small couch, wrapped in a hoodie, watching the media chew her name like gum. Richard called constantly. It'll pass, he said. We'll control the story. But Mia knew better. When you're a black woman rising fast, the world doesn't wait to crown you, it waits to question how you got there. The center they were building together was real. The blueprints were moving forward. She was hiring women she once worked with. Naming rooms after community leaders. Giving real people real jobs. And yet, the louder her impact became, the more people tried to tear her down. And then it got worse. Someone leaked the 911 call. Mia's voice, clear and calm, answering the dispatcher's question. Are you related to the child? No. Then why is she in your car, ma'am? Suddenly, social media lit up. She kidnapped that girl. Why was she alone with a white child? Sketchy AF. She planned this. She knew who the father was. Lily's photo was everywhere. A child in a tiara. A woman with brown skin and tired eyes. Two worlds that weren't supposed to touch. That night, Mia sat in her apartment, lights off, heart aching. Not scared, furious. She had done the right thing. And somehow, that made her the villain. Then her phone buzzed. A text from Richard. They want to meet. The board. They're nervous. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Don't let them shake you. Mia stared at the screen. Tomorrow, she'd walk into a room full of billionaires who saw her as either a symbol, or a liability. And she was going to remind them, she wasn't lucky to be here. They were lucky to have her. The boardroom smelled like polished wood, money, and just a hint of condescension. 10 men. 1 woman. All in suits that probably cost more than Mia's rent. They sat around a long glass table, pretending to smile, pretending this wasn't a test. Mia didn't flinch. She walked in wearing her own armor, black trousers, a deep green blouse, no jewelry but her grandmother's bracelet. Hair in a sharp, clean bun. Eyes locked forward. No trembling. No stalling. Richard stood at her side, calm but clearly bracing. Mia Thompson, one of the older men said, glancing at his tablet. You've had quite a week. She smiled. So have you. A chuckle, forced. Then silence. We brought you in, another said, because some of our partners have concerns. The headlines, the speculation. We need to know this center won't become a scandal magnet. We can't afford unpredictability. Mia looked at each of them. Paused. Then stepped forward. You know what's unpredictable, she said. Leaving a 6-year-old girl alone on a sidewalk in the cold. You know what's a scandal? That a woman doing the right thing becomes more suspicious than the man who vanished. The room shifted. No one expected fire. But she wasn't done. You're afraid of my name because it's not safe. Because I don't come from your circles. Because I speak in full sentences and don't shrink when you question me. And that's exactly why I'm the best thing that could happen to this brand. One man cleared his throat. Ms. Thompson, with all due. No, she cut in. You brought me here because I saved a child. But I'm staying here because I'm building something that matters. You want clean PR? Hire another consultant. You want change that lasts? Buckle up. Silence. And then, one slow clap. Richard. Followed by another. And another. Not everyone joined in. But enough did. When she walked out of that room, the air felt different. Lighter. Sharper. Hers. Later that night, she got a call. Not from Richard. Not from the press. From Lily. Miss Mia. Daddy said I can call you anytime. I just wanted to say thank you again. For finding me. Mia smiled, tears threatening. You found me too, sweetheart, she whispered. Outside her window, the city glowed. And somewhere deep inside her, a new version of herself stood up, straightened her spine, and said, let's begin.